Okay. So now we're recording. And everybody's quiet. It's okay. It doesn't have to be like you guys can talk too. Don't feel like you can't say anything. So we are going to cover a lot of things today. We're going to talk about Ayurveda and what that is. We'll go over doshas, which I think you guys have done some of that. I don't know if you ever done dosha. So we'll talk about that. We're going to figure out what your dosha is, what your imbalance is compared to where when you start out, usually when you're younger, you're more balanced. And so where you're at now, things have changed, right? Since we were young. So we'll look at those differences. And then we're going to talk about how that impacts our gut health and how we can use Ayurveda to help improve our gut health. So lots of learning today. We're going to sample some things and hopefully have a lot of fun. So feel free to ask questions, really informal. Obviously, we're a small group, so we can just, if there's something that pops in your head that you want to know or something that resonates with you that you want to share, please add that because it enhances the workshop for everybody.
I have a question.
Yes.
Infomercial, and it was talking about gut health influencing your creepy skin that you get with the older.
Oh, yes. Oh, no, I'm starting to get it here.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't watch the whole thing because it was going to try to sell you something.
Of course it was.
And I started to watch because the whole thing that drove me in was, do you have creepy skin? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll watch. I call it creepy. Okay,
it's creepy and creepy.
So that's why I call it creepy. I'll call it creepy. But can your gut influence your skin?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Your gut influences everything from your skin.
Help my legs not be creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
And your mental health is also related to your gut. Yeah. So like everything. We think of our brain as the primary brain, but now more in science, it's the gut. That's what is the driving force behind what's actually in your brain. So what you eat and what you ingest and your lifestyle impacts everything from what your skin looks like to how you can actually think and function, which is just really cool because we have that. Yeah, it's fascinating. And we have that kind of power to change how we feel and how we look. And so it's pretty cool.
I'm keeping my phone out. I'm not being rude.
Oh, no.
I'm a young person.
You're fine.
My grandma's in hospice.
Oh.
So, and it is what it is.
I hope she had a very long happy life.
She will be, well, she's 96. She'll be 97
Awesome.
in March, but she won't. Yeah, so.
Well, if you need to.
Well, that's what I do.
Yeah. And totally understand that. You guys all know who I am, so I'll introduce myself for anybody else watching the recording. I'm Elizabeth, and I have lots of different hats that I wear, but Ayurveda is kind of what is the driving force behind everything that I do because it's just a different kind of lifestyle, and it's the way I think of it is it teaches you how to live so that you can be healthy and successful. And to me, that is the driving force behind everything that I ultimately end up doing in life. So I do aromatherapy, I teach yoga, I do all those things. That's all comes back to this root. So that's me. A little bit about Ayurveda. You guys may have heard this before. It is called or means the science of life. So it's kind of like how to live. It's about 5,000 years old, probably even older than that. It's often referred to as the mother of all healing. And it stems from the ancient Vedic culture and has been taught for thousands of years, but it's been passed down orally. So there's not a lot of text on Ayurveda. Now we're getting things that are being passed down in print. But for most of that first, obviously they didn't have computers and recorders and things like that. So it's been orally passed down. when I did my training, we have a manual and we had some text, but a lot of our information was passed down like this in a setting where we're discussing and we're sharing. So I like that about my training, that it was a little bit more oral tradition. And some of the principles from Ayurveda have been incorporated into our Western things like homeopathy. I never say that right. Homeopathy. So some of those little roots are over here in the West, and we're becoming a little bit more open to some of these Eastern healing practices. Difference between what we consider allopathic medicine, or sometimes it's called Western medicine, and Ayurvedic medicine, or Eastern medicine kind of incorporates all of that, the Chinese medicine and all those differences. So allopathic medicine is a more masculine form of healing, and it deals with symptoms and the immediate need for a fix or a resolution. It's really important. If you cut your arm off, Ayurveda cannot help you. You need a doctor, you need a surgeon, you need someone to stop the bleeding. Or if you have an allergic reaction to something, you need an EpiPen, you need something immediate that's going to fix it. So that is more of an allopathic masculine form, not masculine in the way that it's a man's medicine, but just that masculine energy. Ayurveda works more in the realm of balance and prevention of disease. So Ayurveda looks at the body as formed up of energy, and we'll talk about those different energy types. But when those energies go out of balance, that's when disease happens. And so bringing everything into balance, we prevent disease from actually occurring. So that's the goal behind Ayurveda. It is considered a more feminine form of healing because it's a more nurturing, motherly type of healing. And one thing that I always like to mention is probably everybody in this room and most of the people you know have been to the doctor and at some point been told, well, that's in your head. There's nothing, your blood work shows nothing. I don't see anything going on. It's just in your head. In particular. And absolutely, yes, you're anxious. Yes, yes. So usually looking at it from an Ayurvedic standpoint, it's an indication that the energy in the body is out of balance. And no, you don't have maybe diabetes yet, but there are imbalances happening that will potentially lead to that. And so that point where it's in your head, it's not, it's in your body, it's happening. It just isn't showing up in blood work yet. And so that's the point that Ayurveda is able to help correct that imbalance before it becomes recognizable as disease or diagnosis. Once you're at a diagnosis, you need a combination of both allopathic and Ayurveda because we need to address what's going on. If you have diabetes, please take your medicine because Ayurveda will help and potentially could help you get off of the medication, but it cannot fix what is already diagnosed. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So like eventually you might be able to come off of that by changing your lifestyle, changing your diet, but it is important to take your blood pressure medication and things like that. Don't be like my grandpa who was like, I don't need this. And then he had a massive heart attack. Ooh, maybe you needed your medicine. So this is just talking about evaluation and treatment of imbalances, just so you have a little bit of an idea of what it is like when you go to see an Ayurvedic practitioner. It does kind of feel in some ways similar to going to the doctor. There is an evaluation. They will talk to you, but they'll also look at taking your pulse. They'll observe your tongue, your eyes, your physical height, shape, form, coloring of the skin, and listening to the tone of the voice as you're talking. And whereas in Western medicine, they're looking for things that might indicate disease, the Ayurvedic practitioner is looking to figure out what is your primary energy source in the body. Are you Kapha, Pitta, or Vata? We'll talk more about those. But just trying to figure out what your energetic pattern is through all of these various physical and kind of talking. You'll talk more to an Ayurvedic practitioner than to a regular doctor, typically. There are some doctors that spend more time with you, but part of figuring out the imbalance is figuring out where it started. And so there's a lot of conversation about what's going on. Where have are you dealing with emotional issues right now? Are you, having grief? Are you exercising 4 times a day and things like that? So it addresses all aspects of life, body, mind, and spirit. And it recognizes that we are each very unique. I have an energetic pattern, you have an energetic pattern, and they're not the same. And we know this just from when I come up the stairs. Shelly knows me, well, you guys all know me. So you all might have been like, oh, I think Elizabeth's coming, because we carry that energy and we put off our own energetic pattern, the little vibration that we pick up on. So if you're facing the other way and your daughter walks in, you're probably like, oh, I know that's my daughter, because you know her energetic pattern. Or if they're my kids, it's because they come in and yell, ah. Okay.
Oh, can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
Super quick.
Yeah.
So it's true then that, like, if he's very anxious, like it's bouncing, I have to say it's like bouncing off of you. You need to,
Yeah.
You need to go, calm down, because I'm like, you're making me. So that's true then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And some people are more sensitive. Like if you're more empathic, you'll feel people's energy more. And some people just have big energy and you can feel it when they walk into a room. And there's people who are very charismatic and they can change the tone of the room when they walk in. And yeah, you can definitely, yeah. I tell my husband he's Pitta, which is fire. And so when he gets mad, he's like, I'm like, you gotta like go sit in your office because I don't want your energy. Because he just, and he's not trying to put that out. He's just experiencing it in all of his pitterness.
I can attest that. I teach middle school.
Yeah.
And we will often in the lounge talk about middle school students that you'll have in a balance of new student will come in one person.
Yeah.
That changes the whole environment. And you think, one person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But it does. It changes the whole dynamic.
And
yeah.
it's different if they're, like you say, charismatic.
Right.
And bringing that joy in that person's, that anger in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing how you can do that. Yeah. Shelly's a teacher too. So.
Oh, I'm right. You go.
And I have middle schoolers, so I get it too. I have 2 of them, a girl and a boy. Very different. So going back to that energy and figuring out what our energetic pattern is, your constitution is what is your energetic pattern that you kind of come into the world with. And that changes through things that we do, things that we think. So there's a lot of emphasis on the maintenance of health, paying attention to our lifestyle, our diet, what we're thinking. And those things are the main components in Ayurveda that impact how balanced we are and whether or not we're in good health. Some things we can't control, but a lot of things we can. I think we went over all this. Any questions about Constitution? We're going to talk about it more, but we talked about everybody has their unique it's kind of like a fingerprint. Your energetic pattern is your unique fingerprint. And this Constitution is determined at conception. And there's just, factors of like the time you were born, the energy in the world at that time, your parents, your overall energetic pattern that you bring from, if you believe past lives, or if you don't believe past lives, then you could look at it from an energetic standpoint of just what you're bringing forth into the world. And your constitution stays the same. If you think of it as like your best form of balance, that is the same throughout your life. But we can go out of balance based on all the things that happen in our life. So internal and external can impact the balance of the energy. These can be things like emotional and physical stresses. Obviously, if you break your leg, that is going to impact, right? Your emotional state, diet, food choices, also the seasons and the weather, the location where you live will impact some of this, because if we're in Florida, it's a much warmer, wetter climate. And here in Ohio, we have all the things, but it's a little bit cooler, and we don't have the ocean to crawl into. So where you're at has an impact: physical trauma, work, and family relationships. So all of these things can impact us. There are also things like environmental things that will impact the wildfires that we had. Those will impact our energy as well. So some things we can control, some things we can't. Once we understand how this all works, you can start to take actions to help maintain balance, even if it is something that you can't control. If you have a stressful job, you have to deal with tweens, and I feel for you. Then they're amazing kids, but it is a different kind of stress, holding space for children who don't, have all of their brain development to control their own emotions. And so that is something that is going to impact your energetic balance as well. Balance is the natural order. Imbalance is disorder. Health is order. Disease is disorder. Within the body, there's a constant interaction between order and disorder, just like in life. There's a balance between we go to work, we rest. All of these things are in constant interaction. When we understand the nature and structure of disorder, we can reestablish order, which is the goal of Ayurveda. So, talking about our constitution, there are two words in Ayurveda, and they're Sanskrit words: Vikruti and Prakruti. Your given constitution is your Prakruti, and this is your true balanced state in body, mind, and spirit consciousness. So when you're healthy, when you're taking on the world and you feel like, just you can process anything mentally, emotionally, and physically, digestively. Our Vikruti is the constitution that we carry with imbalances in the body that we build up over time, or energies that we take on at birth from circumstances of pregnancy, labor, and delivery. So all of these things will impact, and we're all women in the room, so don't go back if you are a mother and be like, oh, what did I do? Because it's not it's not all us. It's not, we can't change those things. But knowing that those parts of us are important as we move through life, that our constitution is with us even at that time. Does that make sense? Okay. So the three energetic principles of Ayurveda are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. There are not English words for these. We can describe what they mean, but there's not an English equivalent. So we just use Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And these are the basic types of energy or functional principles that are present in everyone and everything. So every tree, every person, we all carry these energies in us. To a certain extent, we have all three of these energies. What we're going to talk about in regard to doshas is that there's primary and secondary of how much of each you have. So energy is required to create movement so that fluids and nutrients get to the cells, enabling our body to function. So we have to have nutrients that actually get into our cells so that we can move and function. Energy is also required to metabolize the nutrients within the cells. And it is also used to lubricate and maintain the structure of the cell. Vata is the energy of movement, air. Pitta is the energy of digestion or metabolism, fire. And Kapha is the energy of lubrication and structure. So these are those three main energy types that are making us up. We have qualities of all three, but usually we have one that is a primary, one secondary, and the third would be our least prominent. There are a few individuals that are considered tridoshic, and they have almost equal parts of all three of the doshas. But for the most part, we all have one primary, one secondary. The cause of disease in Ayurveda is viewed as a lack of proper cellular function due to an excess or deficiency of one of these energies. So one of these energies goes out of balance. And what happens is, for instance, if Vata is out of balance, Kapha will try to come in. And so if you have a Vata imbalance, Vata is air and movement, Kapha is heavy and earthy. And so we'll do things like binge eat if our Vata is out of balance to try to ground ourselves. Food is very grounding. Or if the Kapha becomes too high, we might become lethargic and just want to sit on the couch to kind of, because we're trying to balance that Vata out. You have that movement where you feel like anxious, or you can't sit still, or you can't think clearly. And so the Kapha tries to balance it. So what we do in Ayurveda is actually reduce the Vata, because the Vata is what went out of balance. So once you get that Vata back down, the Kapha will automatically come back to its original necessary amount. There's one other thing that does play a part, and that is toxins in the body. And some of those, again, we control. Some of them are environmental, but you can have toxins that build up in the body. And this could also be something that causes energies to go out of order. Ama is the word in Ayurveda for toxins. And if you're curious if you have any ama in the body, when you wake up in the morning, look at your tongue. Do you tongue scrape? Yeah. Yeah. Do you? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it goes through cycles. Sometimes we fall off the wagon. So actually a toothbrush, like to brush your tongue, it will actually push if you have ama, it'll actually push it into the tissues of the tongue. So it's there actually is some up there, but it's just a little device that you take on the back of the tongue and you pull, and just kind of scrape. And if you see like there'll be like a film, or usually it's white. White if it's kapha, beige is vata, and I believe pink is pitta. I'll check that for you guys on our break. But it's an indication of whether or not you have ama in the body. If you're scraping in the morning and you have a lot, that's an indication there's a lot of toxins that are built up. And if you wake up in the morning and you scrape and there's not a lot, then you don't have a lot of toxins in the body. Doesn't mean anything bad about you, just that maybe a cleanse would be a good idea to help reduce the toxins in the body. And we'll talk about that too. Doing okay?
Mhm.
Okay. It's so cool, isn't it? I love this. So vata, our subtle energy that's associated with movement. It is composed of space and air. It governs our breathing, our blinking, muscle and tissue movement, pulsation of the heart, and all the movements of the cytoplasm and the cell membranes. In balance, vata promotes creativity and flexibility. Vata types are very creative. They're artistic. They might be singers, writers, painters, or they might just be that person that always has the best idea on how you can do something. They might be woodworkers, but they're very creative. They're also very flexible. These are the people that you can change the plans on at the last minute, and they're like, okay, whatever. They're also the people that will change plans on you at the last minute. That they're usually very, they usually have a good communication with people. They're typically a little bit more outgoing, just because they're able to kind of float between the energy. Pittas and kaphas help to balance vatas, and so you're drawn to opposites to help kind of even out your energy. Out of balance, vata produces fear and anxiety. So I was talking about when you have that vata imbalance and you feel like you can't think clearly, or maybe you have a lot of thoughts that are just happening at the same time, or you're anxious, or you feel fearful in a situation, that is when vata is coming out of balance. And so reducing that vata is going to be what helps to bring it back. So that's our vata. Anybody think they're a vata type? I definitely think you have some vata.
Definitely have a lot of that. Yeah, I know. But then all your other things, I'm like,
You might have one, like my primary is only slightly higher than my secondary.
and I think when I've done this a
Yeah.
couple times, there's some real close, two of them are real close.
Yeah.
Careful.
Pitta expresses as the body's metabolic system. It is made up of fire and water. It governs our digestion, our absorption, assimilation, nutrition, metabolism, and our body temperature. When it's in balance, Pitta promotes understanding and intelligence. Pitta dominant individuals are generally very intelligent. They also like lists, and they like to do things. They like to make lists and cross things off, that I completed this. They're the people who will add something that they did to the list so that they can cross it off. They like intellect. They like understanding. They love education. Out of balance, Pitta arouses anger, hatred, and jealousy. So if you think of fire, fire's quick. Pittas are usually, if they're out of balance, they will be quick to fire, quick to point out, oh, you didn't do that right, or quick to get mad. But usually it also goes out like a flame, and it's over once you've expressed your Once you've got your fire out, it generally is pretty chill after that, unless you're really out of balance. I think you have the pitta too. Not that you're like fiery, but
I think that's what I don't know.
I think vata. I think vata pitta,
think so.
because you're definitely a doer.
Yeah.
I'm probably
List.
will.
I identify with everything.
Yeah.
Let's see what this one says. I know, because I'm like, well, I'm quick to anger, but I'm not let it go.
So that's more kapha. Kaphas hold on to things.
I had a meeting and I spoke what I needed to speak. But then I got in the car and drove home, which is only 15 minutes. It's texting. My coordinator, I heard the special. It's probably good here. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, but you have to get it out. Pittas
Yeah.
have to.
It was wrong.
You see a problem and you have to see it, and it can be a great quality, because I mean sometimes things have to change.
Yeah.
And
Did it? No.
if
But I
pittas,
said it.
vatas don't always speak up because they're not always paying attention to what is not like that's a bad thing. They're dreamers and they're thinkers, and kaphas are like, I just want everything to stay the same. So kapha is the energy that forms our body structure, our bones, our muscles, our tendons. It's the glue that kind of holds the cells together, and it's formed from earth and water. Kapha supplies the water for all the body parts and systems. It lubricates our joints, it moisturizes the skin, and it maintains our immunity. When a kapha type is in balance, it's expressed as love, calmness, and forgiveness. Kaphas are one of the more motherly and maternal energy doshas. They are oftentimes in fields like psychology or in types of practice where they're listening. They're very good listeners because they're very grounded, and so they hold space for people. Out of balance, it leads to attachment, greed, and envy. They also can become hoarders. Kapha people like to have things like knickknacks and little collections, and they also tend to hold on to things. So when they're in balance, they're very quick to forgive. But when they're out of balance, it can be very difficult for them to forgive or even to let go of something that has upset them, because it just kind of sticks like glue. So this chart shows the elements and attributes. So vata, air, and ether. And if you think about ether and space, when you have space, that's where we can create. And that's kind of what vatas do. They move and they create. And that's where that artistic influence comes from, because they have space, like literal space. Pitta, fire and water. These people are very passionate, but also in balance. If the fire and the water are balanced, it's a good deal. Kapha, earth and water, very grounded, very here, very present, here and now.
Yeah. And you may have said this, and my brain glossed over it. What is the difference under vata with air and ether?
So these are just the two elements that make up vata. So that's what vata is made of, space and air. Okay. And then pitta is made of fire and water, kapha, earth and water.
Right. I was just trying to separate air and ether.
Oh yeah, no, they're together. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, they're just what makes up the vata. Attributes of the doshas: vata is dry, light, cold, rough, subtle, mobile, that air, movement, and clear. Pitta is oily, sharp, or penetrating, hot, light, mobile, and liquid. Kapha is heavy, slow, cold, oily, slimy, or smooth, dense, soft, static or stable, cloudy or sticky. So these are just some of the attributes of each of those doshas. And you might already kind of look at that and see like, oh, I have a lot of dry skin, or on the opposite side, I have oily skin, and kind of start to identify some of those attributes within yourself.
What's rough, light, and smooth, slimy? I mean, what do you mean by slimy?
So it's I tend to think of it more as smooth, but if you think like if we're talking about like skin, kapha skin tends to be very smooth, where vata skin is more dry and creepy, or what creepy.
Yeah.
Because as our skin dries out, it becomes more of that creepy, dried skin.
Okay. So if I had more
But kapha, yeah, because kapha has all that oily. So for dry skin, oiling the skin would be what we would do either internally, like actually now that I'm in my 40s, take shots of olive oil every day, just because as we age, we vata increases. And so just to help keep things lubricated, I take like a shot glass of olive oil and
straight up olive
just
oil?
straight up olive oil. And I mean, I don't know if it's helping, but I feel like it's helping. My skin feels better.
Have you gone to the olive oil tasting?
Oh,
Well, yeah, if you go to one of the specific olive oil stores,
You wanna know what?
yeah,
Yeah.
they will take you around and they will tell you.
oh,
the
I need to do
difference.
this.
It's so good.
And well, they're not just tasty, but there are.
But all their
health
attributes,
specific,
yeah.
And they will tell you what they are.
Yeah. Oh, I have to go there. Yeah, because the one thing I know is they have it has high polyphenols in it, which are amazing for your health.
And it depends on where it comes.
Yeah. Oh, I need to do that. So yeah, to balance out that dry skin, you would do like the Ayurvedic massage is done with sesame oil, which is really good to help balance vata. And you're just literally just putting sesame oil pretty thick on the body and doing a rhythmic massage with it. And we're going to talk about how to do that to yourself too. So we're going to take some time to figure out what our doshas are. I meant to bring up pens. Do you guys need pens? I can lend them. So I'm going to give you 2 sheets, and Shelley, I think you've done this. Shelley, I think you've done this before too.
I have.
So
I know, I still on my phone.
we're going to fill out one for how you feel right now, and one for a time in your life when you felt most balanced.
What if that's now?
If that's now, that's awesome. That's the goal.
I'm gonna run to the restroom.
Absolutely. And then as you're filling those out, remember that you can choose multiple things for the same question. So if you feel like 2 of them resonate with you, go ahead and choose both of them.
Watching. Online. I always say that. Look at me. you think these?
I mean, not-
small
yeah,
and active.
because they're not small,
Okay.
but like kappas have those big, like
Yeah.
you think of like,
I-
like Puss in Boots, like when he's like so big.
Yeah.
like, those are kappas. I was telling them, if you come to one of these and you think I have attributes of, more than one, you can choose more than one
Okay.
on the same answer. You can add up how many kapha, pitta, and vata answers that you put. So if you look at the end of each of the options, it'll have a V, P, or K, and just count how many you have of each. Yeah, put them both. I'll put them both. Mhm.
that's also under. Depends on what it is. Yeah.
Depends on what, who,
Maybe
and what.
worsen.
Yeah, but if you circle two, count. Make sure that you count them. More time. So I'm gonna start kind of explaining this by sharing mine with you. So the first one I filled out for a time when I felt most balanced. For me, that is when I was actually a tween, when I was most imbalanced. So I am a Kapha Pitta type. My Kapha is always higher than my Pitta. Usually they're kind of close. This one is 7 and 4, and then 1 for Vata. And then when I filled it out for how I feel now, I have Kapha at 8, Pitta at 5, and Vata at 2. The numbers are not important. The goal is not to get them equal. The goal is to determine for you which is your primary, which is your secondary, and which one is the least influential in your energetic pattern. So I know I am a Kapha Pitta, and what that means for me is I am going to tend to go out of balance when the season is Kapha or Pitta. I'm going to have to work more on staying in balance in those seasons, right? So in the winter, Kapha is high. At the end of winter and spring, Kapha is very high. So that looks like allergies. It looks like being tired. And for me, that becomes an increased issue because I'm already carrying a lot of Kaphic energy. So if I don't increase my exercise during that time of year, I can become very lethargic and I'll want to stay home and sit on the couch. And to a certain extent, we all do because that's the energetic of the season. But if it's your dosha, it's a little bit harder if you don't maintain balance. If that makes sense. So that's like the easiest way to kind of look at those energetic principles in the body. And then the other thing that we look at when we're comparing these is obviously mine are close, but not exactly the same. And so that's an indication that I'm a little bit out of balance right now, which typically we all are carrying a little bit of imbalance. I know for me, it's a vata imbalance. I have a low thyroid, and in Ayurveda, typically vata is what goes out of balance when your thyroid goes out of balance. And then kapha starts to increase, trying to bring things into balance. So that I know for myself is what is happening. My kapha is increasing because my thyroid, and I have to reduce the vata to get things back in control. Does that make sense?
So when you were talking about seasons, so
Mhm.
for us here in this area, you're saying winter is more of a kapha
So yeah.
season? Okay.
So and I think let me find that slide actually because I can show you. It's going to be far away.
Oh, if we're gonna get to it, don't worry about it. I
Oh,
just
that's
won't
okay.
take notes because it's in there.
So here it is. So late winter into spring is more kapha energy. And if you think about it, it's earth and water, right? So when we're in that late winter, that's usually when we're getting more snow. And then as we move into spring, it's wet and things are growing. And kapha is all about growth and water and earth.
But that's going to be different, say, for somebody who lives near the equator.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's interesting. We'll talk more about that as we go. So does anybody want to share what their findings were? Is anybody this in balance right now?
No, I thought. So I really, through your descriptions, really thought I would be primarily pitta.
Mhm.
But for both of these, I'm primarily kapha. When imbalanced, it's pretty close kapha.
Yeah.
Zero vata. Every time. Zero.
Me and you, girl. Yeah. So if when the kapha and pitta, kapha you said is a little higher.
Just slightly.
Yeah. And that's usually what we find is that one is primary and one is kind of secondary, but sometimes they're very close. And that just means for you balancing kapha and pitta would be your goal.
Okay.
So as we talk, just kind of keeping that in mind, your kapha pitta. You don't have to.
Vata pitta was even for how I'm on the lowest in the time most balance was kapha was the same. Pitta was off by one.
So if your pitta is what is changing the most,
You're visual like me, you wanna see.
I am visual.
I may not have to, someone talking like.
Yeah, so I would say, and it is hard, like looking at these pieces of paper without all of the
Like you're.
yeah. But I would say that your pitta is what is going out of balance, and that's what's driving the shift in the other two. Oh, your vata changed a lot too. So there is the easiest thing in Ayurveda is that what we're taught is if you're unsure, it's always vata. Because vata, because it's movement, vata is typically what is going to go out of balance because just the nature of it, it's movement. And so it shifts and it changes. So if you're unsure, it generally is vata.
That goes out of balance, or that's your.
That goes out of balance.
But is that usually your primary though, the two, or no, that's what usually goes out?
It's just usually what goes out of balance.
Okay.
Yeah, if it is your primary, then it's a little more you will have a higher tendency to go out of balance because Vata is movement and change, and that is just part of one of the things that Vatas deal with. What did you find, Michelle?
I mean, on the how you feel now, I got 5, 5, and 5. I think that was much the same when I did this the last time, and I was like, I don't believe that.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't believe that.
you can be tridoshic. It is possible.
Because I circled more than one on, like,
Yeah.
under stress, I circled all 3, because I've done.
The other thing that that I would ask you, if we were having a consultation, I would ask you, how much time did you spend debating on which was right?
A lot.
Then I would probably say Vata.
I have a hard time
Because
making decisions.
Vatas have a hard time making decisions. And Vatas will, because they're more flexible, they relate more to everything because of that ability to change and move. Whereas like for us, we are who we are.
Which is so funny because like you would not describe me as being flexible. I'm not. No. You wouldn't say that not meaning flexible, my legs, but not flexible. I've worked on it, and as I've gotten older, I am way more. Yeah. So that's interesting.
So, and it could be that you are inflexible because of the Vata being primary, because you're trying to maintain balance. Because if your Vata gets too out of balance, then you can feel out of control. And so that is comforting to have. Is that kind of?
Yes, absolutely. The way you're saying, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, because that's one thing. If you think about, if we talk about diagnoses, and this is, I'm not a doctor. This is just sharing kind of for educational purposes. But if you have things like ADHD, that would kind of correlate with Vata. And when your Vata is out of balance, or you're just say you fill this out and it's like Vata, no Kapha, no Pitta, which some people are, that can make some of those more tendencies to have things like ADHD, because there's so much. If you think about in terms of the attributes of the energies, Kapha is earth and water. We're full up of stuff. Pitta is fire and water. Fire is movement, but it's contained and it has direction. Vata, air and ether, it's space in the body. And if you are not filling the space, it will be filled, right? So as we're influenced by those outside energies, that Vata can get a little bit more out of control. Does that kind of make sense? And a sort of Vata is space. So when you have more space, something will fill it. This is why Vatas tend to change and be fluid, because they are so influenced by the people and circumstances around them. So the changing of the mind is often because in one situation you maybe felt grounded, and then went home and thought, no, really, I don't want to do that, because you were in a different environment. That's kind of how Vata is influenced. Does that help? Anything? I would say Vata for you as primary.
When you felt most balanced, I had 4, 4, and 5. 5 being off.
Kapha. So maybe,
which I was like, no.
Maybe Kapha, Vata Kapha type is what I would say for you. Based on, because I know you a little bit.
Yeah.
So I would say Vata Kapha. I
Have you done this with your spouse?
My husband is Pitta Vata. He is, so we're a little bit of opposites. I'm more earth and ground, and he's more fire, and and we tend to gravitate either. If you have a strong primary, you might be drawn to someone who has the same. But usually we are attracted to opposites because they balance us. Because we're, like especially vatas and kaphas go together great because they balance each other out. And that's typically what happens in relationships, friendships, marriages, and things like that. And yes, I like to, I look at all of my kids too, and I'm like, okay, what's out of balance today? And I mean, they're middle schoolers right now, so like literally everything is out of balance. Like, yeah, like you're a hot mess from like 11 to.
As an educator, I this is all new, to me, so I didn't look at my kids that way, but I would do personality test with my kids. Like, hey, what do you think about this? And they go, oh, I was doing that.
Because it helps you to understand where they're coming from, right? Yeah. Like it's very helpful for me. My husband and I'm kapha, so we don't usually get in fights except when my pitta it gets a little then that's when I'm grumpy. But for the most part, we balance each other out. When I'm not getting enough, maybe like setting enough boundaries for the kids because I'm kapha and it's all good. He is doing the opposite, so it works out in that way. But it also is helpful to understand how their thinking works of other people and how to interact with them. Okay. So talking about balance, we talked about how there's a lot we can't control. We can control our diet, our lifestyle, and our thoughts. And so in Ayurveda, we pay particularly close attention to these. Our diet and our lifestyle can harmonize our constitution and bring us in balance with body, mind, and spirit. And so that's what we want to do. And these are some things, if you have a vata dominant energy, these are some of the things that you can do to balance vata. If you have a vata imbalance, these are also things you can do to help reduce vata. We always want to reduce the energy that went out of balance rather than increase another energy. So we're reducing vata to balance rather than increasing kapha.
So in this then, like, would that be reducing?
So yeah, you would reduce vata to come back, and then the others would naturally come back to your given constitution.
Yeah, I have a question. Since I have zero vata all around, am I trying to increase that?
Nope.
Okay.
Because that's
Yeah,
not.
because I don't like spicy food.
That's not your
not
your
thing.
constitution. Nope. If later as you get older, because vata does increase as we get older, you might then find, okay, maybe I need to incorporate some of these. But your constitution is kapha. I mean, it's not working for me yet, but as we age, our vata does increase, but not necessarily. We don't get to pick and choose though.
Which one I want.
Because I would like that too. So if you are balancing vata, you want to keep warm, stay calm. Vatas can, when they get excited, can kind of get way excited. And so calming themselves down, taking a breath before sharing or taking a breath before doing something. Avoid cold, frozen, raw, and also it should say dry foods, because remember, vata is air, it's already dry. So if we're consuming cold, raw and dried foods, we're drying the body out more. So we're going to make that vata increase. eating warm foods and spicing the food. We're going to talk about, and actually you guys are going to get to take home a little, it's called a churna. And those are spices that you can put on all of your meals to help balance out the doshas. Keeping a regular routine. This is what I was talking about with you in regards to vata. If you know that you have tendencies for things, you'll try to kind of self-regulate, right? And so keeping a regular routine is great for vata types because it helps to keep vatas from going out of control where they're maybe doing 15 things at the same time or over scheduling or just being spread too thin. So keeping a regular routine is really important for vata. And also getting plenty of rest. Vata tends to have a lot of energy and they use it all up and then they're done. And so kind of keeping yourself, I call it saving a spoon. If you've ever heard the spoon story where you have like so many spoons at the beginning of the day, and if you use them all up, you're out of spoons. If you save a spoon, then you'll be okay. So if you're a vata, save a spoon. Check yourself before you exert all of your energy and let your body kind of understand, oh, it's okay to be calm and have energy. For balancing pitta, pitta is fire, and so avoiding excessive heat, hot classes, hot food, and also avoiding excessive oil. If you think about oil and fire, oil will make fire, what's the word I'm looking for? Spit up is all I can think of, but like to combust, yes. Avoiding excessive steam, limiting spicy foods and salt intake, and eating more cooling foods. So for pittas, raw foods, salads, some of the cooler room temperature items are going to be a better fit than like a spicy Mexican lasagna or something. Whereas vata could eat that and it would be calming for their system. Pitta is going to be exasperated by spicy foods. And also for pitta, exercising during the cooler part of the day. And so when we talk about the times of the day, we'll get into that a little bit more. But if you think about the hottest part of the day, there's already a lot of fire in that part of the day, like 10 to 2. And so for vatas, it's better to exercise either earlier or later in the day, or pitta, sorry, because you don't want to increase that fire in the system. Because then you could walk out, like if you took a hot class at, say, noon, you might come out kind of angry or a little over or just you could also be not necessarily angry, but that feeling like you have too much energy in the body. Balancing out kapha. Kaphas need to get plenty of exercise because of that tendency towards earth and groundedness. It's important to as kaphas to remind ourselves to move, and also avoiding heavy foods. Thinking about like oatmeal and things that are denser, like those casseroles that you make, slow cooked meals that are heavy. We want to avoid that, especially during those kapha times of year, because it's going to increase our kapha. Also, avoiding dairy is important. Dairy is one of the more kaphic foods. And so eating too much dairy can cause kapha to go out of balance. some individuals will have allergies to dairy related to kapha in the body because dairy is so kaphic. Avoiding iced food or drinks, also things like ice cream, which makes me really sad because I like ice cream. But if you are going to do something like ice cream, balancing that out maybe with hot tea after you eat the ice cream so that we're all going to eat ice cream. Like, please don't go through life without ice cream. It's important. Difference here for routine, kaphas do like to stay in their routine and they don't often want to change or move out of what their routine is. And so varying the routine becomes important for kaphas to take a different way home. Or like, seriously.
I know my husband would say, she'd get lost.
GPS. But yeah, just varying your routine. And for kaphas, it's usually like the morning routine, like there's certain way that we do things every morning, and changing that up is good for us. Even though for me it feels wrong. It feels wrong. Yeah.
Why is it good for you?
Because otherwise we just do the same thing and we're actually increasing our kapha, and our kapha can go out of balance if we keep, like if I ate ice cream and I'm always doing the same things, and then my kapha is going to go out of balance. Avoiding fatty, oily foods. We are already, as kaphas, we have more oil, we tend to have smoother skin because we have more kapha in the body. So avoiding fatty, oily foods is good.
So when you say you take a shot of olive oil every day, is that going against that, or is totally?
So this is more like fried butter.
The bad.
Yeah, the bad.
Okay.
Yeah. Because kapha is responsible for growth in the body. Mm-hmm. If we're ingesting things like lard and things that are those solid fats, that's what's going to increase things like plaque buildup in the arteries, because kapha is responsible for that. Eating light, drier food is good for kapha. Salads and those dry foods that the vatas can't eat, we can eat. Now, it doesn't mean like potato chips, but like dried fruits and nuts and things like that. And then this is my saddest thing on this list, because I personally love naps, but as a kapha, it is discouraged for daytime naps. Because
that's my favorite Sunday thing. So why? Because
it increases the kapha in the body. If it's working for you though, do it, because I like naps. But if you know that your kapha is out of balance, that's when you would not want to take a nap. If you're gaining weight and you're feeling really tired and you're feeling really stuck, like emotionally, then it would be kind of, okay, maybe I need to. So these are more for if you're out of balance.
Oh, okay.
Ways to bring it back into balance. Okay, so now we understand a little bit about Ayurveda. And does anybody need a little break, or we're doing good? Yeah.
Are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. So we're going to start talking about Ayurveda and the gut, and understanding the gut microbiome. The microbiome is a collection of all microbes, such as bacteria, fungi, viruses, and their genes that naturally live on our bodies and inside of us. So we're made up of all kinds of stuff. A person's core microbiome is formed in the first years of life,
but can change over time in response to different factors, including what we're eating, medications we're taking, and environmental exposures. So one of the first ways that our microbiome is formed is at birth. When we pass through the vaginal canal, we are taking on parts of our mother's microbiome. We're picking up what her bacterial and all of these things, what her body is carrying. And this is very important to populate our gut as an infant so that we can start to do things like eat food and all of the and have a healthy gut microbiome. It is also influenced by whether or not we're breastfed or bottle fed. No judgment, feed your kid. There is some evidence that having breast milk does increase the healthy bacteria in the gut. And so that plays a part into it. If you have a C-section, obviously you're not passing through the vaginal canal, so that's going to have an impact on your microbiome. So we come in with our core microbiome, and then over the course of the first few years, all of the environmental things and that we experience are going to impact that. Also, if you have medications, especially during those first years of life, medications like antibiotics in particular and steroids can impact the health of your gut. Antibiotics will wipe out everything, which is good if you have something going on, but it does make it harder for your microbiome to rebuild the healthy bacteria. So first few years of life are really important for setting that microbiome. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be necessarily in a bad spot, because you can change your gut microbiome. So that's part of what we're going to talk about doing today. Differences in the microbiome may lead to different health effects from environmental exposures, and may also help determine our individual susceptibility to certain illnesses. Environmental exposures can also disrupt a person's microbiome in ways that could increase the likelihood of developing conditions such as diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular and neurological diseases, allergies, and inflammatory bowel disease. So our microbiome plays a large part in our health and whether or not we're going to end up feeling bad. And we know this, right? Because if you eat fried chicken, potato chips, and French fries every day, you're probably going to have some issues with maybe obesity and diabetes and blood pressure and things like that. So we know that this is happening, even if we don't understand what is happening at the gut level. The microbiome may weigh as much as 5 pounds. The bacteria in the microbiome help to digest our food. They regulate our immune system. They protect against other bacteria that cause disease. And they produce vitamins, including B vitamins like B12, thiamine, and riboflavin, vitamin K, which is needed for blood coagulation. So it's really important. We need to have the right bacteria in there to help us to feel good and to operate at our maximum potential. A large proportion of serotonin is produced in the gut. You guys are familiar with serotonin. This is the feel-good, calm neurotransmitter. Your gut microbes are also produce a neurotransmitter called gamma, and I don't ever pronounce this correctly, aminobutyric acid, or GABA, which helps control feelings of fear and anxiety. So in addition to helping digest, to regulate our immune system, protecting against disease and all these things, our gut is also helping us to produce neurotransmitters in the brain, which was what we talked about when we first came in this morning. We were talking about how it impacts our brain and how we actually focus and feel and interact. And so it's super important. If you think about depression and anxiety, if we're eating and living in a way that helps our body to naturally produce serotonin and GABA, then we're going to help to mitigate some of that. Does that mean that you might not have to take medication? No, not necessarily, but you might be able to take less, or you might be able to feel better so that you can operate more efficiently. What does your poop say about your gut microbiome health? Does anybody look at their poop?
Yeah.
Yes, you should. Yes.
Because I have issues.
Yeah. You should. You can tell so much about your health, and in particular, what your microbiome is doing by looking at your poop. So, with those energies that we have, there will be some natural tendencies that will play a part. But for the most part, if your microbiome is healthy, you should ideally have one long turd that comes out in the shape of your colon and tapers off at the end. So it's like a beautiful, perfect little turd. If you think about in terms of wiping, did you guys know you were going to talk about poop today?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
In terms of wiping, it would be you would not need to wipe because everything has come out. It's clean. Please wipe, but it's gonna be that. It's gonna be one of those situations where you're like, oh, that's great. I don't have to go back and whatever. If the microbiome is unhealthy, then you'll start to see different tendencies. Pitta in the body will have multiple bowel movements through the day, smaller, thinner turds, more than that one perfectly formed. You might see oily, say bits, but it'll be less formed. If there's vata in the system, it might be constipation or very dry, where you have like little rabbit pellets. That's what my mom always called them. She has a lot of vata. She would say it's rabbit pellets. My mom's a nurse, so we've always talked about poop. Kapha will be sticky. That if the kapha is out of balance, it'll be, or you have that tendency, it'll be like peanut butter, where you're like, oh my god, I've gone through half a roll of toilet paper and I'm still like. So those are some of the things that you'll notice just from your energies. If the microbiome is unhealthy, you might also see different colors in the stool. So looking at the color of the poop will help to also indicate the health of the person. So if you're seeing things like green poop, this is usually an indication of bacterial death, which if you've ever taken an antibiotic, you might have noticed that you have green poop, and that is that bacteria that has been killed in the system and is being removed. So not necessarily a bad thing. You might also see it if there's a lot of detox happening in the body, that you're getting some of that out. Healthy poop should be that nice kind of brown color, and it shouldn't have an odor. Not that it doesn't smell, but not an odor where, like, sometimes your spouse might go to the bathroom and then be like, don't come in the bathroom for
Yeah,
yeah, it should not have that kind of an odor. That is another indication that the microbiome is a little bit out of whack, or that you maybe ate fried chicken and tacos.
My
or,
husband
you
is
know.
really out of whack.
So these are some of the things that you can look for. If you notice things like black in the stool, that could be an indication of blood in the system. So please go to the doctor. If you see blood in the stool, please go see your doctor, because there's something that is potentially going on there. It could just be you have a hemorrhoid that's bleeding, but definitely always get that checked out. So next time you poop, take a look and see what your poop looks like and how it's talking to you. If your microbiome is feeling good, you'll have those nice, easy poops, nice brown color, not a lot of odor. And if there's other things happening, then it might be a good time to maybe take a probiotic or do some of the other things we're
All right, let's talk about probiotics.
Okay.
So, what's the one that that maybe you still think?
Mary Ruth.
Mary
Is the
Ruth.
burning.
Mary Ruth is a probiotic, that I was taking because we were talking about it and then I stopped and I'm taking it again. But you got your prebiotics, you got your probiotics.
Yep.
Very overwhelming.
So, okay, take both, you take when, like, and why, and, or always, or.
So that's an excellent question. And I actually have these little cheat sheet things here.
Wonderful.
Can I give you-
On the market.
So
So many of them are not.
they're not all equal. In general, if you can get it locally, the probiotics will be better because of shipping and how they're stored. You really want them to stay refrigerated so that they are alive when you take them. So if you're getting something that's shipped to you, you want to make sure that you know that it's not having a long trip to you, and that it's being, shipped.
But it doesn't
cold.
say on the bottle to refrigerate.
It doesn't, because there's not really any regulation on that. FDA is not telling them what to do with their probiotics.
Some will, but some won't.
But yeah, it is better. Like if you go to the health food store, they're all in that refrigerated section. So that's the best place to get them, because they're storing them in the refrigerator. And so that way, you know that they're always going to be fresh, and there should be live probiotics in there.
So is there such a thing as not non-refrigerated? I mean, because that's what we're doing.
It's
It's not the best.
It's not that it's going to be bad. There's going to be more live bacteria in the ones that stay refrigerated than if you use something that's not refrigerated.
So you're gonna share with us what your favorite one is, or do you take one every day, or do you take one only when you're out of balance, or what?
So you can take one every day. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It won't hurt you. It does get to be expensive.
Yeah.
So I typically focus more on prebiotics and foods that are rich in probiotics, because that's going to be a better route to get it into your system anyway. And then you're not spending money. And then if there's an illness, or I look at my poop and I notice something's off, then I'll take a probiotic.
Pro or pre?
Pro. I mean, you could do both if you have.
Okay.
But taking something at that point would be.
So you don't take, you just do it.
I
for
do
diet.
not take it every day.
Okay.
Yeah. And so these are probiotic and prebiotic foods, and these will help to boost the good bacteria in your gut. So you have probiotic rich foods, and then there are prebiotic rich foods. And so for me, it's easier to focus on eating these than to take a probiotic every day. So things like yogurt, olives, sauerkraut, miso, kimchi, tempeh, kombucha, And then natto, which is a fermented soybean.
Yeah, I've never heard.
I actually hadn't either, and I still haven't tried it, but I would
How
like
did you
to.
say it?
Natto.
Natto?
And then prebiotics. So prebiotics in the system, these are things that help to promote the good bacteria, or they help to contribute to probiotic growth in the system. So these are things like Jerusalem artichokes, asparagus, onions, garlic, bananas, chicory root, dandelion greens, and beans. So these are all foods that you can eat that will help. And thinking about that kind of just in general, fiber is really good for the gut. We do not, as a society, eat enough fiber. We focus a lot on protein, which is important. We definitely need protein. But in order for our body to work properly, we need enough fiber to move the things through the system. So fiber is super important for our gut as well. You don't like what? Chicory root? Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not the same.
Yeah, maybe if they called it something else, like not coffee.
Like not coffee, like
Like
bake.
Like just chicory root drink.
I actually
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that have you ever had dandelion root tea? I actually think that tastes better to me than chicory root. Like if I was gonna try to give up coffee, I'd rather have dandelion root or the mushroom coffee.
Yeah.
Those are pretty good.
We were just talking about mushroom coffee.
So these are just cheat sheets that you guys can take home.
And nice coffee.
Yes, you guys got the fancy paper. I love. So that makes me happy when I don't know, it's a texture thing, but like when you get something printed out and it's on like cardstock, it's like, oh, I can put this on my fridge. So Ayurvedic gut health. This is what we're going to talk about for the rest of our workshop today. Ayurvedic gut health focuses on freshly prepared vegetable dense meals with grains and proteins based on your specific doshic needs. Eating local, seasonally available foods. This is the easiest way to know that you're eating what is best for your body, going to the farmer's market and just getting what is available there during the season from your area. Also spicing for the season or to your dosha for improved digestion. Eating larger meals during the day. Understanding the liver's nighttime role in our health and digestion. Repair and maintain our Agni health. Agni is the fire or the metabolism in the body. And this is just a little tip. I know I share this with Shelly all the time. Eat to the first burp or sensation of fullness.
I've heard that before.
This
like when
is
you feel
when you feel that bubble start to come up.
Although I have to not do that
Constantly.
Well, and sometimes in particular with Vata, you might just have more belches, but it's different than when you burp.
Yeah.
If you have a full burp, you're probably already past that point. But if you pay attention when you're eating, there's a point where and you feel it. It's like a little bubble that comes up, and it's not necessarily audible or a large burp, but you'll feel that shift in the body, and it's when the stomach is 2/3 full. So we don't want to overfill more than that 2/3. That's what our body needs to maintain health, and that's when we're full. That's one of the easiest things that you can do to help your digestion is to not eat past that point. If it's difficult to figure out when the first burp is, you can also think of it as you should be eating about 2 to 3 cups at a meal, and that's it. Like if you think about the size of your stomach, eating 4 or 5 cups of food, there's not room in there. So thinking about 2 to 3 cups of food or to that first burp, and we'll talk more about all that too. Stomach massage to aid digestion and health. That's called, it's part of Abhyanga, which is self-massage, which we'll go over. Cleansing with the seasons, understanding lifestyle impact on digestion, and then we're going to go over recipes and foods for our gut health and essential oils for symptom relief and balancing. So this is what we're going to do the rest of our time. Okay. I think we're good on time. So vegetable dense meals, when you're building your plate for a meal, 3/4 of the plate would ideally be vegetable based. And then 1/4 of the plate protein, and then 1/4 starches and grains. So primarily what Ayurveda wants us to eat is a vegetable based diet. It doesn't mean you can't eat meat, just not like when you go to the Pine Club and the steak is 3/4 of your plate, and then you have like those stewed tomatoes and the little potatoes. So we're just shifting how we're building our plate. Eating foods that coordinate with your dosha. So we talked about those foods that can kind of cause the doshas to increase or go out of balance, and how to bring them back into balance. The main thing with this is, if you are balanced, would be during the season of your primary dosha, to be mindful of what you're eating so that you're not going out of balance. In general, kaphas are going to avoid heavy, dense, sweet foods, instead choosing lighter, spicier foods, adding black pepper and a little sea salt to what you eat. Pittas are going to avoid spicy, hot foods. Pittas have a hard time with this because they really like spicy foods. But instead choosing foods that are more cooling. Salads are great for pitta types. Pitta types could eat a salad with every meal, and that would be helpful for them. Vatas are going to avoid cold, dry foods, instead opting for more oily, wet foods.
Some oily wet food.
Oatmeal.
I can't do that all the time. I do that for breakfast, but
Just thinking about, like, with vata, thinking about keeping olive oil or avocado oil or something like that at the table, and just add a little bit to your vegetables. Things like casseroles, things that are cooked with water and with healthy oils are going to be good for vata. And actually, all of us could probably keep olive oil on the table and add a little, because that's a healthier oil. So we mentioned before, talking about seasons and how they correspond with the doshas. And so we are in fall right now. Fall into early winter is vata. It's a transitional point where there's a lot of air. We feel that shift. The cool air comes in. There's a lot of movement. We have a lot of festivals. We're harvesting everything. We're gathering. There's a lot of movement in this time of year. So thinking about what we're eating, this is a good time to have things that are a little bit warmer and heavier, like soups, stews. These are the kind of things that vata would, those wetter foods, because they're going to help to balance out the dryness that is already in this season. Also, if in the fall you want to add a churna or a spicing season, it would have more things that were a little hotter, a little bit more warming for the system since we're in that dry, cool period. Times of day, we did not talk about this, but the times of the day, we did a little bit, I think, with the exercise. They also have their own doshic energy. So one of the things on our Ayurvedic gut health list is to eat our meal, our largest meal during the day. So what happens here for most of us is that large meal is going to be at like 5 or 6 o'clock, sometimes 7 o'clock. And if you look at the times here, 2 to 6 is vata and 6 to 10 is kapha. If I'm eating during this kapha time, my metabolism is at the lowest point that it's going to be at. Kapha is heavy, kapha is slow, kapha is not fast. So my metabolism at this time of day is going to be much different than 10 to 2 during that pitta time where there's more fire and energy. So to eat your biggest meal at lunch is the best for the metabolism of your body. And I know, I mean, I have kids, there's activities, sometimes we eat dinner at like 9 o'clock. What we try to do is have a very light meal at the end, almost like more of a snack, so that we're satiated, but we're not having like a steak dinner or a casserole right before bed. So that's something, that's probably another one of those easy shifts that can be made, is having your larger meal during the day. Where it becomes tricky is when you have jobs that you all have where you probably don't have a full hour to eat a meal.
No, I was gonna say, on the previous screen when we were talking about the amount of food, I really don't eat a lot of food.
Yeah.
The problem is I have to eat quick.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is
Takes me the whole summer to not eat.
right.
And
And then you have to go back to work. Yeah, and that eating quickly is actually it's not good for our digestion, right? But it's so much part of our culture. And so what I've tried to do for myself, because it is some days impossible, most days impossible to have a larger meal during the day, I try to eat a bigger breakfast and take time to mindfully eat, because that actually, when you think about what you're going to have, your body starts to produce the enzymes that will break down those specific things that you're thinking about. So for breakfast, like waking up in the morning and thinking, I'm going to have eggs and I'm going to have some onions and peppers, and now I'm getting hungry, starting that process of thinking about it and then sitting down and mindfully eating that meal.
And then work at 7,
And then the other thing is, if you're eating on the fly, even if you have 5 minutes, sit down.
I sit and eat while I'm driving.
No.
My oatmeal.
Wait until you get there, take 5 minutes, eat it, think about it, and I promise you it will change how you digest it.
I believe you.
It is, and it's so hard. And it's also really hard to pack in like those 5 minutes where you relax and you're just doing self-care. But it's so important. My husband's just sending me movies, so it's like I should probably look. He sent me like 6 texts. He's taking videos of the cross country stuff.
Are you also saying though that maybe you shouldn't eat between 6A and 10A?
So your metabolism is slower here. Yes. So ideally you would eat between 10 and 2. And that
totally makes,
that would be the best. If you think about like the way we've kind of grown and changed, because it was dark at night, there wasn't, you were doing different activities where you would eat and cook during the day. And then because of the way our lifestyles have changed, we've kind of gotten away from that. But yeah, 10 to 2 would be like you would have breakfast at 10, and then you would eat lunch somewhere, maybe 1 or 2.
Remind me why it says the different 3 doshas at the different times.
These are just the energies of the day. So this is when 2 to 6 vata is going to be higher in the energies around you and the energies in you, and kapha between 6 and 10. So it's just as we have energetic patterns, the energy around us.
So it's best to eat if you're more beta between 2 and 6. If you're more kapha, it's best to eat. Is that what you're saying or no?
No, for
No,
all
you're
of
just saying
us,
energy.
for all of us, because we want the metabolism
Oh.
to be strongest, we would want to eat between 10 and 2.
Those energies are strongest at those times.
Yes. So your metabolism, especially if you're a kapha person, if I'm eating at 7 o'clock at night, it's probably going to take me all night to digest that, because my metabolism is already slow and I'm eating it during a slower energetic part of the day than if I eat between 10 and 2 when my metabolism is at its highest. If I'm a pitta person, I can eat all day and they don't gain weight, and they're people that sit down with a giant pizza and they don't gain weight, but good for them.
No envy.
But seriously thinking, even if you only have a minute to eat, and I know that I'm there too, but really the idea is paying attention to the food going into your mouth, thinking about the act of eating, rather than being like my kids that are like mindfully eating. And Ayurveda, remember, it comes from 5,000 years ago. So our lifestyles have changed a lot.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to check all the boxes because of where we're at. We just do our best. So we talked about this, eating larger meals during the day, eating when pitta is highest, largest meal between 10 and 2, and lighter meals for breakfast and dinner. We already discussed all that. So this is, the liver is like, if the gut is our primary brain source, the liver is its best friend. The liver has a very large role in our health and our digestion. In Ayurveda, the liver is known as the seat or home of the Pitta dosha, the fiery mind-body element that is associated with metabolism. Every day, your liver helps your body digest, metabolize, and manufacture essential compounds. So your liver is taking care of your digestion. These are some of the key functions of the liver. It is responsible for detoxification of the body, the bile formation and secretion, digestion and metabolism, protein metabolism and synthesis. The liver is also involved in hormone creation and metabolism, the metabolism and storage of fat, the regulation of bodily pH levels, the generation of red blood cells, and the regulation of blood volume and blood pressure. So healthy liver is really important for our overall functions. Talking about the liver, Agni is the sacred metabolic fire within. It has a diverse range of functions, but everywhere in the body, Agni serves as a vehicle of transformation. It's how we metabolize, how we change food into nutrients, how we transform. Ayurveda describes at least 40 specific physiological manifestations of Agni 5 of them, the Buddha Agnis, are housed exclusively in the liver. Functionally, the Buddha Agnis are responsible for transforming our food into biologically useful substances, so nutrients that we can get into our cells. The digestive process breaks down our food into its most basic form, the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And the Buddha Agnis, one for each of these elements, convert these elements into a form that the body can use. Only this more refined substance is actually made available to the tissues through circulation. So if our liver is not healthy, if these Agnis cannot transform the food, then we're not going to have enough nutrients into our tissues. Eating late at night is the worst thing for your liver. It's also the worst thing for your Agni, or metabolism. The night crew in the liver is responsible for cleaning up all the toxins that we've encountered during the day. And that happens while we're asleep. So once you go to sleep, the liver says, okay, I don't have to digest any food. I'm going to start cleaning up the system. And so while we're sleeping, the liver should be taking care of any ama or toxins that are in the body. And what happens if we eat late at night after like 9 o'clock, then the liver or the night crew is busy metabolizing that food and may not have enough time before you wake up to adequately take care of all the toxins in the body. And so this is how toxins start to build up, either eating late or not sleeping enough, which I know some nights, some nights you get 5 hours of sleep, sometimes you get 8. But these are some of the easiest things to adjust to help to keep the liver healthy. And something else we can do for both our liver and our digestion is stomach massage. And this helps to aid not only with the digestion of food that we eat, but also to help move some of the poop that's in the system, because we're typically walking around with a little bit of poo in us all the time. And if you have too much that's backing up in the system, that's not good. So we want to make sure that it's moving out. So Abhyanga, or self-massage to the stomach, is one of the ways that you can help to move things literally out of the system. It helps to improve our circulation, our strength, our vision, and stamina. It helps with increased moisture for softer skin. It improves the texture, tone, and overall skin appearance. And it helps with strengthening our body tissues and lubrication of internal organs, bones, and joints. There's actually something in Ayurveda that they do called basti, which is taking, they use chickpea dough, and they will make a little well around, like if you have aching knee joints, they would do it around your knee, and they fill it with oil, and it has herbs in it, and it is just absorbed right into that joint. You can also do it over organs, like the adrenal glands, the kidneys, liver.
Would that be similar to castor oil packs?
Sort of, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, same kind of effect. You're having it slowly absorb into the skin. And then better sleep and overall health. So remembering that our stomach has all these. Do it. Yes. So
teacher, why are you sick? Because I'm gonna sleep there tonight.
Yes, if you're having trouble sleeping at night, give yourself a belly massage, because it does help. I think the next sheet goes over. Yeah. So I'll show you. This is going to talk about we'll talk about how to choose oils and all that. But the basic thing to remember is your right hand is going to go up, your left hand goes down. So you're always going this direction, up on the right, yep, and down on the left. And the reason for that is where everything is in your system, because we want to push it through the system. So that is going along with where the small intestines are, large intestines, colon, all that. So we're just pushing the food in the right direction. And all you have to do, you can literally just sit, clothes on in a meeting, say you're bored, and just start at your belly button. This only works if you have a table, because otherwise they're like,
What you doing over there?
are you pregnant? What are you doing? But you start at your belly button and you just go in circles. You just go around your belly button and then you work slowly out to the edges. If you have tender spots, go lighter. If you can, a nice kind of firm medium pressure is going to be the best. If you know already that you tend towards constipation or being backed up, a little bit of firmer pressure is going to be beneficial. The best way to do it is with something like sesame oil or coconut oil. And typically sesame oil is what is recommended because most of the time Vata is what goes out of balance, and sesame oil is very balancing for Vata. And so traditionally Ayurveda uses sesame oil. You might also do what's called seasonal oils, and that would be like during spring and summer using coconut, because that's a cooling oil. So using that late spring, summer, early fall is a good way to kind of change your oils up. And then sesame oil, you would do late fall, winter, and early spring. Unless you have a sesame allergy, and then sunflower oil would be recommended. And then, yeah, so same thing, you're just going to put the oil on. And Ayurveda, if you've ever had an Ayurvedic massage, they are not skimpy with the oil. So putting a good amount in your hand is what you want, so that you're getting all that oil into the system, because the oil is also going to help lubricate the system to move things along. And then the rest of this is just talking about how to perform if you were going to do a full body Abhyanga, which we'll talk about if we have time after. But the main thing for the digestion is the stomach. It is beneficial to do the whole body, but we just talked about how we don't have time to eat food. So if you can just do your belly, you're doing great.
So how often do you recommend?
To do the belly massage,
Yeah.
I would do it at least once a day.
And like
To do a
the
full body, in a perfect world, we could have one every week.
Okay.
But in reality, once a month is a good. And you can do it yourself. It's a little bit easier to get in, like maybe on a Sunday night. You can do that. I try to do like a Saturday or a Sunday, so that I'm doing at least once a week. The other thing is you can go and get an Ayurvedic massage, and someone else is rubbing the oil on you, and that is also very nice to be relaxed and soothed, especially if you don't have time to eat during the day. You probably need a massage if you're alive. You probably need a massage.
Is there a best time of day to do the stomach massage?
That is a good question. So ideally you would do it in the morning to help get the digestion going. You could also do it like before you ate a meal, if you wanted to help get the digestion starting. Usually I do it in the shower. So as I step in the shower, I put the oil in my hand, and before I get in the water, I do the stomach massage, and then I go ahead and I take my shower, and then it's just part of my routine now.
Okay.
And it doesn't take long, so it's pretty easy to fit in.
I mean, how long, is it like 5
So-
minutes, 2 minutes? You know,
No, I do.
I'm a very
I do like 20 circles. So I'll
Okay.
do, I start at the belly button
Okay.
and do 10 getting bigger, and then I do 10 getting smaller, and that's it.
That could be while our coffee is burning.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really easy to add into your day. If you know you've got digestive issues, I would also probably do it maybe in the evening before your evening meal, just to kind of help.
I usually try to do the once a week. I have a dry brush.
Oh yeah,
I see.
yeah.
I've never done, so you do like it?
I do.
Oh yeah, it gets kind of addictive.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And then I'll get in the shower, because it's kind of sloppy.
Yeah.
And I'll do lymphatics areas.
Yeah.
With the brush?
No,
Oh,
just with my
oh.
fingers. I do have a, I guess it's called a brush, but it's really just plastic with soft
Mhm.
little nubbins. And I can use that. I don't use that on my face, but I can use that elsewhere.
Yeah, cause I skipped that.
The dry
process.
brushing.
Yeah, and I like that.
It's actually it does help with digestion too, because it increases circulation. And the other thing it does is, because it works with the lymph system, it'll help with toxins in the body. And it's really easy too, just to get one of those brushes, and it doesn't take long.
Yeah.
You just, I
I
mean,
guess I just felt like it was like, you're like, oh, it takes so long and blah, blah, blah. It just was
You
like,
make
yes.
it as long or short as
Yeah.
you want it.
yeah,
I really do it for the lymphatic system.
Yeah.
To get the toxins out.
helps with cellulite too. I will encourage you, it's a lot of information, it's a lot of little adjustments and things. Just start with one, because otherwise you're like, oh my God, I gotta brush my body, and I gotta rub my tummy, and I gotta like, so just starting with like one thing and slowly, and then it becomes really easy and just part of your routine. Along with dry brushing, we can talk about cleansing. Cleansing seasonally is what's recommended for Ayurveda. So as we transition from one season to the next, taking time to help the body with that transition. Mostly in Ayurveda, they do a khichdi cleanse, which is mung beans and rice, and then there's vegetables that we add and spices. Actually, really delicious. It really is. It's really, yeah. It's really. In India, this is like their comfort food. Like, we get sick, we eat chicken noodle soup, they eat khichdi.
I feel like, well, I know, not you. I talk for myself. We have lost this knowledge of right where we live. I think there are other foods that we didn't necessarily grow up with, but like my grandmother, who can no longer express this to me, but that's what they did. And she was in Kentucky, in a rural area, and I know she would talk about her and her mom going up the mountains in the spring, picking certain greens and making tonics, and they would do that in the season. I just feel like that knowledge is lost, and I can't get that back from my
Then I think that's where most of us are, because we can't access it. Either the person who did that is not able to express it, or it just got lost.
It's just
over the
it was just lost
generations,
because they felt, at least in my family tree, oh, that's rural. We don't need that. We're becoming civilized, and
we've got medicine now.
and we don't need that.
Yeah, it's kind of sad because that,
Very sad.
yeah. And our health impacts our what we ingest impacts our health so much. And so having that information is so important. So when you're doing the cleanse, you would do 3 to 7 days, depending on
I'm only eating that.
so you eat predominantly khichdi. Breakfast is a little different. And you change it up with the vegetables that you add. And you're also reducing other things like sugars and refined foods, caffeine, stimulants, wine.
I didn't have a hard time with the wine. I really didn't, but because I have a glass of wine every night. But
And there are some health benefits to that too.
I did have I was very stubborn about the coffee.
Yes,
Like,
she
no,
was.
I will drink my cup of coffee. But this time I am going to. But it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. I didn't really it actually
It actually, yeah, it's pretty tasty. And then you feel like the first couple of days, day 1 to 3, you kind of feel like I got a headache and it's kind of sad. But then after that, as the toxins move out, then you start to feel really good. It's also important to, when you're doing the cleanse, to reduce lifestyle irritants. Ideally taking time off
sick.
from work, phones, computer.
Okay, sorry, I have to not cleanse today or next.
And you're toxified.
Yes, that is exactly, yes. Ideally, that's what you would do. In reality, we can cut back where we can. We can not get our phones out on break, or not sit down at night to do the work that, like just taking a little bit more of a slower approach so that your body is able to rest and restore. And these are also things that we don't talk about these are things that our ancestors did. They took this time to, value and let their body process and release. And it's something that we don't do in our current lifestyle. These are not things that your mom sat you down and said, now listen, once a month you need to take a Sunday afternoon and eat some khichdi and take a bath. And hopefully we can change that. In addition, you can add in morning, afternoon, and evening movement is recommended. And then things like breath work, pranayama, meditation are also helpful during the cleanse. So really, when you're cleansing, you're just, it's an opportunity for your body to be the most relaxed it possibly can to process out toxins that have built up through the season. And then this will help your digestion for the next season. Okay. Understanding our lifestyle impact on our digestive health. Stress plays a large role in our digestive health. If you've ever experienced the tummy twirls when you're anxious, you might understand this. Maybe because you're worried about something or you're excited about something, and you get those tummy flutters of excitement, or you might, if you're under a lot of stress, you might encounter things like IBS symptoms or overactive bowels or underactive bowels related to the stress that you're going through. So I know we're talking about how unideal our lifestyles are, but maintaining a lifestyle that helps to balance those stressors does play a huge role in our gut health and our digestive health. So even if it's 5 minutes a day, mindfully eating your food, or sitting in your car before you go to work, taking time to let your body rest, not sleep, but be awake and rested. And that will help your digestion. During times of stress, we can take things called adaptogenic herbs that help to provide support. And we can also do things like yoga, pranayama, meditation, and like I said, just time to relax that help your body to reset. If you think about like if you're a machine, if a machine is constantly running, eventually it breaks down. But if we turn it off at night, the next morning it works great again. So if we think of our body like that, we need to turn it off sometimes. We need to rest and digest. We need to be in that parasympathetic nervous system, and we need to let the body do its thing. Adaptogenic herbs, my favorite one for women is ashwagandha. And it's particularly good for women because it supports things like the thyroid and hormone balance. But it also, because it's an adaptogenic, it helps with handling stressors that we encounter. So, and it doesn't mean you have to take an ashwagandha pill. Yogi teas have, I think it's called positive energy and perfect energy, and they have ashwagandha in them. So you can have, tea middle of the day, or maybe if you didn't get to have your hour-long lunch, maybe you can have some tea after lunch, and that again will help with digestion and help with handling stress.
I actually have something here called, it has
I think, does it have Tulsi too? Tulsi is another good one.
ginseng, is in it. It's from Swanson. It's adaptogenic herbal. What'd you say was in it? Rhodolia, it's called RHODIOLA, ashwagandha and ginseng. I do take ashwagandha now. I started it. I was supposed to.
When we're not there yet, but when women go through menopause, and that's goes down. So I've been taking something with ashwagandha. I actually stopped because I got some very interesting dreams, and I didn't know it was from that. Because that was the only thing that was confirmed, and I was like,
So maybe that one's not the one for
that's
you.
not the one for me.
Oh my gosh.
Tulsi is another good one. Tulsi is holy basil.
Okay.
That's a good one. Lavender, you could do
Like, do they
Tulsi,
have
yeah, it's an
their
herb.
tea or something?
Yeah, Tulsi tea.
TOLS.
TULSI. It's holy basil.
As a tea.
Yeah, you can get Tulsi tea. You can get Tulsi like pills, and yeah, it's a good one.
Okay, have you heard of taking, I got oregano oil when I was feeling ugh, and I came back from Florida because I didn't know if I got COVID on the plane or what. And it seemed like it. So I tried it straight up.
Yeah,
And then I
oregano
took
oil,
a shot of it
thyme.
with water. And but I only did it when I felt good.
Yeah.
Have you heard
Good for
that?
your
Yeah, oregano is great. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's another one that's really good.
I definitely, like, I'm either good going to the bathroom or
not. Yeah,
Or
yeah.
just don't
That's that vata.
at all.
There's this is a good segue. I was going to mention Triphala, which is there's some up here from Banyan if you want to look at it. Triphala is what is usually recommended in Ayurveda for any kind of bowel issue, constipation, or to diarrhea, and it helps to balance out the energies in the digestive system. It is safe for kids. These are like horse pills, so I usually cut them at
I
home.
think I know this for Olivia.
But yeah, that one is really good for
I
digestive
get the powder.
support.
It's just gonna, I mean, I don't mind taking it if I have an issue, because I do have issues. I don't care what I
Right.
That's gonna help me, but
It does.
I'm like, wow, I wish I would have got the.
So actually the powders work better because you taste it. And it goes back with that whole idea of thinking about what you're eating. And so you actually absorb and use it more if you taste it, because your body gets all those enzymes ready. So even though it's like, it's kind of bitter.
Yeah, it's not a great
It's,
taste.
it's not a great
Totally
taste.
different subject than this, but it tastes, you have black seed oil.
Yes.
And I know it's good, I know, but I have to like cheer
You have to
myself
choke it
on.
down.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that one is one that is a little.
And I've tried it just in water with a little something. Oh, it makes
No.
water terrible. No, it's better just stuff. Do it.
Yeah, you just have to take. It's like with cod liver oil and
Oh yeah.
like yeah, you just have to like.
Yep.
Just knock it back like a shot.
Yeah.
Okay, so kitchery we talked about. That is the most recommended healing gut food in Ayurveda. One of the things in it is mung beans, and mung beans help to pull and process toxins out of the body. So this is one of the reasons why it's so good for our gut health. And it's mixed with basmati rice, because basmati rice has one of the lower glycemic index, and it between the two of them, they provide a good protein and nutrients so that you can sustain, activity while you're on your cleanse. There are also digestive apple cider vinegar drinks, which I think are delicious.
I really liked it.
It grows on you. Yes, they're really good. We're gonna have one here in a little bit. We're also gonna try some of the digestive teas, CCF, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit more, and then ginger and lemon. And we actually already talked about our probiotic and prebiotic foods, the sheet that I gave you guys. So kitchery. Kitchery does not have to be savory. This is a cinnamon and cardamom spiced kitchery breakfast bowl. So it is still based on the mung beans and the basmati rice, but we're adding things like cinnamon and ginger and cardamom, vanilla, cloves, coconut milk, and you can add honey or maple syrup to it to sweeten it up. And it is a little bit like oatmeal, but it has, it's better for all three of the doshas than eating a bowl of oatmeal. Oatmeal is really good for vata, but oatmeal, because it's so heavy, is not so great for kapha. Whereas the basmati rice and the mung beans are a little bit lighter than the heavy oatmeal. So this is a good breakfast when you're doing a cleanse, or just any time that you want something that's kind of nourishing and tridoshic. You can also do fruit smoothies, which I know you guys have done. In Ayurveda, we do only fruit. So we don't add things like milk or yogurts, because fruit in Ayurveda should be eaten by itself. And the reason for that is that fruit is very quickly and easily digested. And if we eat it with something like, for instance, if we eat it with oatmeal, the oats are very slowly digested. And so what happens is the fruit will digest very quickly, but then that oatmeal sits in there and is slow, and the fruit will ferment in the system. And so you start to get gas and farty, and you get uncomfortable. And so for that reason, in Ayurveda, it's recommended to eat fruit by itself. So a fruit smoothie would look like banana, strawberry, you could throw avocado in there, and you would use fruit juice or water instead of milk or something like that. And it's actually really good.
So just the fruit and water.
Just the fruit and water. Everything in Ayurveda, they like room temperature, so you wouldn't do ice either. Cold foods and ice kills the metabolism, and so Ayurveda uses room temperature for liquids. But you can do like apple juice, room temperature apple juice, or orange juice or something, and if you don't want to use water. This is just some information about khichdi. Khichdi is kind of basic to the Ayurvedic way of life. It's basmati rice and mung dal, and there are tons of variations for it. It's a one-pot dish, and it originates on the Asian subcontinent and has references dating back thousands of years. The skillful use of spices and vegetables can produce balancing effects for the 3 bodily doshas. It has many qualities, but being quick and easy to prepare makes it a popular dish for almost every lifestyle. Basmati rice and mung dal together create a balanced food that is a good protein combination, and it is tridoshic. This complete food is easy to digest and gives strength and vitality. It nourishes all the tissues of the body. It is the preferred food to use when fasting or mono-fasting or while going through a cleanse. Panchakarma is just a more intensive type of cleanse. Khichdi is excellent for detoxification and de-aging of the cells. Lifestyle choices are one of the basic tenets of Ayurveda, and diet is an important part of healthy lifestyle. The more you know, you know. And this is a picture of khichdi. This is my personal favorite khichdi, which is everything but the kitchen sink khichdi. And it has all kinds of goodies in it. And I will give you the recipe. So this is everything but the kitchen sink khichdi. This has mustard seed, cloves, ginger root, turmeric, onions, carrots, asparagus, cumin, our mung dal, peas, veggie broth, basmati rice, and then on top cilantro, arugula, and then you can add, if you like, ghee and hot sauce. I don't know why that's
So
down there.
mung is just lentils that are soaking.
So it's, yeah, mung dal is like they're lentils. It's a split. Yeah, yeah. It's just, yeah. It's delicious.
Do your kids like it?
Yes,
Okay.
actually, even my Abby, who is very lucky. Yeah, it's the spices and everything in it. It's really good. So this is just kind of like a base of what you can do. You can put in whatever vegetables you have on hand. This particular recipe is just literally what was in my kitchen at the time. But you
Did
could
you make this up then?
you could add, yeah.
I couldn't Google this.
No, I don't know. Well, you might. I mean, I'm sure something would come up. But anything that you have in your kitchen that is seasonal could be added in. So you could do sweet potatoes. You could do squash.
I
know.
Oh, I wish you did, because my daughter doesn't.
I'll be your daughter.
She's
I don't
super
know
picky.
why I pictured mung being something really strange.
They're really, yeah, they're not. It's just a type of lentil, and they're really good. They're yeah. And you can get them. You can get them at Kroger, Dorothy Lane, Banyan. If you look, oh, actually, if anybody needs a khichdi kit, I have 2 in there, and dry brushes. But Banyan has a kit that comes with all the things that you need for a cleanse, for a khichdi cleanse. There's a spice pack, the rice, the mung dal, and I think it comes with ghee. And yeah, and it's like $40 and you have everything you need.
That's what I did, because I'm not,
You're not gonna go out and get all.
why would, I mean, the thought of it is wonderful.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's just
put all
easier,
that
yeah.
stuff
And then you just
Yeah, it's good.
you just throw it all in and yeah. I mean it's just like you just throw crap in a pot and then
Yeah.
it magically turns into kitchery. Something else that is really good for our gut health is apple cider vinegar. And it's a type of vinegar. It's made with crushed fermented apples, yeast, and sugar. It's fermented foods. We talked about those on our prebiotics. Fermented foods are full of prebiotics that are really good for your system. And so apple cider vinegar is one of these beneficial foods or liquids. It helps to stabilize and lower our blood sugars. It can help with weight loss, digestive health, lowering cholesterol, lowering blood pressure. It helps with acid reflux. It helps to have healthy hair, and it helps with eczema. So it's really good stuff. And you can do, if you want, you can just take shots of apple cider vinegar. People do that. Or just put apple cider vinegar in plain water and drink it. It doesn't taste great. It doesn't taste awful like that. But making some of these drinks, this, especially when I'm doing a gut health cleanse, this is like a tasty treat. And it makes you feel good, and it feels like that, I don't know, that part of you that wants like something special. Like
Yeah.
I want a
Glass of
special
wine.
drink. Yeah, like instead of a glass of wine. Yeah.
Sorry, I heard you. Sorry. Probably like, I'm not gonna have that. I'll put it in the same glass.
There you go. That is.
I mean, my daughter, she has these vacancy wine glasses she got at Cooper's Hawk.
Oh.
She's not, she doesn't, well, she's 20, she'll be 20 in February, but she doesn't care to drink.
Yeah.
So like, if I have a glass of wine, then she'll have like, an ice drink or something, but she pours it.
That's cute. I like that approach. So we're gonna take just a little break here because I'm gonna make you guys an apple cider vinegar drink. And we're gonna do this basic one here. And these are my fancy apple cider vinegar drink mugs that y'all get to use. And all we're gonna do, well, I probably will make it in the kitchen. I think.
Right,
Yeah.
Yep. In the kitchen? Yeah. I'm having a very non-Ayurvedic dinner tonight, with yummy pizza and yum.
Well, you know,
I would see that
important.
Yes. Do you need anything else carried in?
We watch my hands.
I do.
So I normally do filtered water. Are you guys okay with tap water? Yeah. Okay.
No way.
So it just happened in like the last 144. In the last 4 years, I used to film the floor all the time. It's my favorite. And not so much. The 40s are probably my favorite so far, but also.
Let's stop having this people.
Well, then the new thing is that my pretty flat long enough.
you can check. Okay. I can do her. Here you go, it's right now. The 4 classes of people that I will though are not at the 2 English classes, 4 that are. We have 1, 3. Shall we go? Yeah. It's right, it's like that sediment that's at the bottom of the, but that is actually where all of those. So yeah, just so you have to look at it. No, but it's all. You do one of the kind of people. So actually, and I think that it tastes better. Yeah. So you'll see that it's improved, but I keep the gas portion here. Sales, I've got here the prices. You know, I mean. Oh, really? When you get the seed, it helps to keep all of the nutrients. And then it's product. It all is. Are you still screen sharing? Yes. So you can do, and you guys can add more. So the nutrients. Even if you're getting it from your local farm, it's not the same as what 50 years ago or even 20 years ago. So I do taste that. I do recommend that. This is what happens if you're rushing to the office. Remember that you need.
You know what we would do with that?
Yeah, that's. I could get one. Oh, you're gonna be everybody's favorite. I have two ladies in the office that we all share an office, and they don't like me at all. They're like, what is that? What is that? Yeah. Are the very moving off? Yeah. Well, two of the ladies are pregnant. Yeah. Well, somebody's fat. Oh, no, it's talking. Yeah. What did you guys? Yeah. It's not as bad. I don't know what I was thinking a while ago. We have leftover salmon and you can't leave that leftover for a long time, so I took it for lunch. And I put it in my and the admin came out and she was like, what is that? And like she's the one that cleans it. Don't ever bring that again. Like she was so secretive. I'm like, but it's so good. I know. I was like, and then you are welcome if you would like to add lemon or if you want a little more your color. You know, if I told myself my husband and if I did it like for him, I think he would totally say that. Okay, so all right, I'm gonna get one of this. I guess I was thinking. Oh, no, yeah. You just start over and do it down. You always. That's it. I got. So you brush up. So this is like what you did. Already mixed together. Yeah, it's yeah, I have it. And then you kind of have that. And I usually the coffee that I like so yeah. Whatever. Which glass am I not allowed? Oh, well, this one's dirty. I mean, it's actually very nice. It has like taken from it. You can use this with sesame oil and. Well, that's the dry. Yeah. No oil. No oil. Oh, you do this. Yeah. Yeah. You just do this before you get in. I do. Before you oil up. Yeah. I do. Cheers. Thank you, ma'am. You're welcome. Cheers. 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 Cheers to gut health. Cheers to gut health. Here we go. Oh. Anybody want? No, I think. Yeah, yeah, I like to add a bonus in here. It will be straight. I don't drink soda, so for me, this is like if I wanted a soda, this is what I would have, and it fills that need for something different. So here, I know. That's my topic that I love. Yeah, it does
You guys can come drink out here, yeah.
I think I am gonna get that.
How much
Oh,
is that?
Do you want just the basmati rice and the
I don't have any, I just whatever is in there, the.
For the
spices and-
kitchery?
Yeah, for the kitchery.
yeah?
Yeah, I don't need the
I think
dry.
it's 40 for that. I mean,
Do you Venmo or check?
I can run it through Square. That's probably easier. Or Venmo is fine too. Whatever. I'm not picky. So there are other recipes that you can do with this. You can make a limeade apple cider vinegar, which you just use lime instead of the lemon.
The oil that.
And you can also do ginger spice, where you're adding ground ginger. You can also add fresh ginger if you're just gonna grate a little bit of that. And you would do half a teaspoon of the fresh if you wanted to swap that out. And then same thing, honey or maple syrup, water, and your lemon slice. I personally, this one is my favorite with the cinnamon. And then also the apple pie, apple cider is good too. That one, you just add a little bit of apple juice to what we just made, and it tastes a little bit, yeah, it's really good. So those two are my favorite, this one and then that apple pie. And then this one, especially if you have a vata imbalance or a vata primary, you can add a little bit of cayenne pepper and it just adds a little bit of warmth to it. You can also do hot water with these. So you can have if you think of like a hot toddy, this is like an Ayurvedic hot toddy.
And any time of day.
Any time of day, yeah.
'Cause I think at night,
Any time of day, it'll help with digestion. If you feel like your gut is kind of maybe off kilter, or you look at your poop and you're adding a probiotic, one of these drinks is going to be really beneficial too.
Can you go back one? I want to see the apple one. Which did you do different on the apple pie?
So
Just
it's just
all you did was add
2
apple juice?
tablespoons of apple juice,
Oh,
yeah.
that's the only thing.
Mhm.
Okay.
And it doesn't have the lemon, but I think I usually do the lemon anyway. In addition to our apple cider vinegar drinks, you can also do digestive teas. Herbs and spices being used to make teas has been a tradition of many cultures for digestive health, as well as for healing, just overall health and well-being. Any like green teas, black teas, these are all included in there as well. But for the best digestive health, talking about herbs and spices. And the most recommended one for gut health and digestion is called CCFT. And it's real easy to make. It's just equal parts of cumin, coriander, and fennel seeds.
I was gonna ask.
Yeah. And you just mix it in, put it in a jar, and then take about a teaspoon to make 1 serving. If you're making a big teapot, 1 teaspoon per person, and just let it steep for about 5 minutes. And then that's it. Then you just drink it. But CCFT is recommended because it does all of these amazing things. It relieves bloating, it reduces flatulence.
I know. I looked at her and I went, "Oh my god!"
It calms spasms in the gut, eases abdominal pain, stimulates the appetite. And that doesn't mean that it will make you eat more than you normally would, but it helps to get the digestion going. So like we talked about doing the belly massage,
You can drink this about a half hour before you eat, and it will help to get the digestive process started as well. Eases nausea and vomiting, promotes the flow of breast milk in nursing mothers. It is a good source of iron. What is that thing? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It really did.
It does make a difference. It can be used topically to treat conjunctivitis. It soothes menstrual cramps. It helps to balance our blood sugars, stimulates lymphatic flow, modulates inflammation, and promotes mental clarity. So these are all kind of the side benefits. The main reason Ayurveda uses it is that it helps to stoke the digestive fire, our Agni, without overstimulating. So it's okay for all three of the energies. And when our digestion, when our fire is ready, when our metabolism is going, we're better able to absorb and use the nutrients that we eat. So this is the main reason that Ayurveda drinks this CCFT, and you can drink it all day. It won't hurt you. It's spices. It's not going to hurt you. It does, however, have a unique savory flavor. Did you guys try this when you did the? I like it.
Mhm.
It's different if you're used to more sweet teas, but it grows on you. It's good.
It's okay to put honey in it.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I mean, if you like it that way, absolutely. We are running a little low on time, so I'm not going to make you drink it now since you already have a full glass. But I am going to send you guys home with some. I'll make those for you too. So this is from Banyan too, and this is just the cumin. It's already mixed together, and then it has instructions on how to make it on the back. And this is usually what I get. I could make it myself, but it's already put together by them. So
Okay.
and then I don't have to use up all my spices, so I'll get those packaged up for you guys here in just a minute. And then this has teas and spice blends. So you probably have most of this stuff already in your pantry. And these little bags you can get they're just tea bags on, I think I got these on Amazon. And it's just a little individual tea bag. You get like a pack of, I think 100 for like $5 or something. I don't even know if it was that much. But then you can make your own tea bags. So you can make any of these that are listed here. If you're thinking about the doshas with what you're making, you go back to those attributes. So for Vata, we want something that's warming, like cinnamon, cardamom. And then for Kapha, we want things that are spicy, black pepper, ginger, cloves, orange. And Pittas get the delicious things. They get lavender and rose and cardamom because those are going to help cool and calm the Pitta. This tea, the Kapha Vata Agni tea, this is good for if your digestive fires are a little slower or you're feeling like you're having a hard time digesting things. Taking a little bit of cayenne, ginger, you can use rock salt or sea salt and a little bit of honey and make that for your tea. It's a good way to help stoke the fires. If you are more Pitta type and you want to kind of balance the fires, we don't want to put them out. We're still igniting them, but it's better to leave that cayenne out because again, that Pittas don't need the spicy. Tridoshic teas over here. These are some of my personal favorites. You can make any combination though. anything you want, you could put in one of these little bags. Ginger, cinnamon, and cardamom is really nice this time of year. If you get, you can get orange peels and you can add that in there. And it's like a great fall tea. And then of course, CCF tea. And then you can try fennel, cinnamon, and chamomile. This would be something that you would drink like after dinner. It would help to get you ready for bed. And then I am a big fan of chai. So these are just some tridoshic chai recipes that you could try that are very delicious.
Knowing that you like chai, I'll use this tea, with honey bush, chai tea, and then I get my fill.
I remember you telling me about that tea shop. I have not made it there, but I would love to go.
I just went last month, no, we spent $70 on tea.
It's so easy. It's so good.
Oh my God.
This is what's called a churna. And a churna is like a spice blend that you put on everything. You can create churnas specific for doshas. I personally think it's easier to eat the churna for the season than to figure out what's out of balance today and what do I want to work on. So this you can just make up at the beginning of the season and then leave it on your table. And when you sit down to eat, you just sprinkle a little bit on everything that you're eating. One of the big things that we don't do, especially here in America, is season our food with more than salt or pepper. That's what's on the table everywhere we go. But in other cultures, things that more spices and herbs are used, and they have those polyphenols in them too, which help with our digestion, our gut health, and our overall health. So this is turmeric, cumin, black pepper, clove, and cinnamon. I'm also going to give you guys some of that to take home today. And you think like with the cinnamon, you'd be like, oh, is it sweet? But it's really not. It's actually, it is still a savory thing that you can put on all your food. Excuse me. And then I guess my belly's full now. This is essential oils for symptom relief and balance. We're never going to stay balanced 100% of the time. It's not possible. We live, we move, things change, environment, seasonal. We're always going to have that some level of shift in our energies. So these are just some things that you can do. Of course, obviously we have the teas and the drinks, but you can take peppermint orange and lavender, which is what was on your little pad that I gave you at the beginning of class. You can just inhale that like we did to kind of help keep us awake. You can also use a carrier, and when you do your tummy massage, you can put those oils in, and I would just put 1 drop of each for your belly. But it does help with indigestion. It will also help with nausea. If you have not necessarily an IBS diagnosis, but if you have something going on where the gut is maybe a little overactive, using ylang-ylang, lavender, and chamomile will help to calm and settle the gut.
Like a mixture of those three.
So again, you would do 1 drop of each of those. For like if you fill up the palm of your hand with a little bit of oil for your massage, just 1 drop of each of those. If you only have 1, that's okay. Just 1 will help too, but the combination is nice. And then oils to help balance some of the doshas, the energies. When we're trying to balance kapha, we're still going to do spicy, warming things. So things like cinnamon, black pepper, rosemary, stimulating oils, eucalyptus, some of those types of things. For pitta, calming and cooling, things like lavender, jasmine, rose. And then for vata, warming and grounding oils, thinking of the trees, sandalwood, black spruce, cypress, and also things like patchouli and frankincense and vetiver, those heavier kind of oils. So these are just some things that you can use to help balance. They are also beneficial for our gut health because they have all these antibacterial properties in them, but they are not going to hurt the good bacteria. So we're going to help boost the good bacteria. Tips for balance. You guys can do this, right? Healthy Agni, we talked about eating to that first burp, or when you feel, that you're at that 2/3 full. Drink your liquids 30 minutes before or after a meal. This just helps with the absorption of the nutrients that you're eating. Doing a periodic detox or cleanse, both food related and emotional lifestyle aspects we talked about during the cleanse. Eating with the seasons and spicing with the seasons for your constitution. Lifestyle choices, avoiding overwhelming schedules, excessive focus, and too much time resting or too much time not resting. And then other things you can work on: yoga, pranayama, mantras, things. I think you guys are all obviously in that world already. And then Ayurvedic massage, our belly massage, Basti, which is that oil sitting on the skin. Shirodhara is oil that is poured on the forehead, and then other Ayurvedic practices that you might do. We made it.
Nice job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Seriously, get some oils.
I'm gonna fill up your goodie bags for you.
Look at the oils. Come with me. Come with me, friend.
Oh, yeah.
Our website is clean. I don't speak on. Yeah.
course, they do. Work. The other. You want that? Yeah. See the awaken blend, I see the happiness blend, you happen to have it up there? It's called Pick Me Up. It is? Okay, I don't think I saw it, I'll go back and look. Yeah, I think I saw Pick Me Up. Did you? Okay. Want salt in your one? I'm okay with that. I usually, yeah. For tea. Oh. Yeah, I put a little Celtic salt every now and again in things. I'm not gonna add a ton, but. Keep our little pad. Oh, yeah, we use our little pad. Are you giving this back? I'm gonna get it. You can keep it. Don't forget, if you want to stop by, Sam, what time are they? 6. I see that has not texted me, I'm like, I didn't know what that is. Otherwise, we're getting the chicken wings I heard are lovely at that new Gianna.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at it, so good. Okay, so they had like 12 meetings.
Yeah.
And I think I would need to get 2 things of 12 weeks.
Let me tell you what time it's been.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
That's the.
Okay, wings at G.
I'm gonna get you a big bag.
Okay.
Stuff.
Is,
That's your tea. and
okay,
your
it's
churn.
I don't know, and then you told me about that.
Oh,
Thank you very much. E, and then what is it? How do you say it? How do you say it? Sorry.
Oh, you're getting a history?
No, what's the other thing in here?
Oh, the churn.
Churn up?
Yeah. Just bites.
And Pachacami, is that right? Pachacami?
Pachacana is, yeah, it is the cheapest. There's, a cleanse thing in there too.
Okay.
Just,
Thank
the
you.
information was there. I'm sorry it took a way
Oh. I won't be offended.
I just put that.
Let me get my card ready. Well, thanks for.
We hosted several years ago, a young lady from Austria. And one of her gifts she gave us were the spice blends that they use a lot in their food.
Okay.
Which, I don't know, because I'm not used to it, but that's what that.
Yeah, yeah. So you're not meeting now?
What?
You don't know?
Yeah, I think that there.
It shouldn't matter.
I know, I'm sorry, I wasn't being very clear. I'm pretty sure he's out there. Yeah. It's I'm stressing with her. Sure. No. Okay, thank you. Oh. Getting that, you didn't know. Close. Oh. Yeah.
All the
All
yummy
the good
things.
stuff.
All the yummy things.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, well, you guys enjoy her. She's the most.
I did. Do you know how late their workshop is? Okay, I've got a couple things I need to give her. I'll just put it in our car.
Are you sorry?
All I did was go on.
And that's why we're ordering pizza because I'm like, yes, I'm. Wow.
Well, I have to.
Yeah,
thank
you.
Take care, and you too.
And you too, and eventually.
Yes, I will actually, I'm gonna tell him today or tomorrow, I'm gonna be like, why don't you just try to connect? I know he has a vacation coming up in October, which means it would be, he could do a weekday.
Yeah.
Which I know works better for you.
Yeah, just, I mean, whatever, you know.
Well, I think you have like one cross country and one cheer, don't you? So that's busy.
I'm gonna sneak it through.
It's messy. I did not mop the floor yet, so.
Okay, so you're over there.
Thank you. I realized I forgot to stop recording. Have a great day. Tell Alexis I said hi.